Alright, part 2 of maps that were removed from CS. As previously mentioned, I'm gonna cover the list of maps that were removed across all beta versions, and boy, there's a lot to cover. Most of the maps are pretty raw, by that I mean not finished or polished, so discussions will be kept short. Also, whoever made the map along with the release date plus removal date will be shown in text on the bottom left. Alright, so let's get on with it. CS Alley 1. Very simple design that can be described as just boxes and hallways with a few indoor spots for hostages that are all G-Man, which I find kind of funny. This dark map's focus was supposed to be on using the night vision goggles, but ends up being a hindrance to the experience. It's also called Alley 1 because there was gonna be an Alley 2, but the idea did not survive for too long. CS Bunker. A lot of thought went into it, but the same cannot be said about the layout. It's also pretty dark, so night vision is encouraged because the darkness can be pretty advantageous to tease, although gameplay in general is not that exciting with these long corridors leading to big open, half-empty rooms. Escorting the hostages out is also a nightmare due to their navigation, and finally there is this hidden room with credits. CS Desert, one of the most open maps I've ever seen. It looks more like a rocky canyon than a desert, but hey, the hostages are floating and there's only 3 of them. The big open design here would honestly fit very well as a gun game or fight yard map, much less hostage rescue, but hey, I'm not a designer. Anyway, this mounted machine gun is supposed to fire explosions, but hey, fortunately it still jibs players. The campfire burns, so I guess that's a thing. CS Docks. Design isn't bad here, it's pretty expansive, a little bit too expansive if you ask me, but that didn't stop it from being the most played hostage map, at least for the period it existed for. There is a massive river which can be traversed by swimming if you're feeling adventurous. Hostages are also quite separated, but regardless, it was a fun map, but not up to snuff with the others, so it didn't make it. CS Facility. Oh, it's another one of these, just with a more generic name. Interestingly, most of this map takes place on the inside, and the layout is rather bland. But why is it like this? Well, because it is based off of the second level in GoldenEye 007 for the N64. Unfortunately, this doesn't work very well in CS, despite modifications to balance it. Well, nothing else to add here besides, this elevator is funny. DE Fang. Finally, a diffuse map, a pretty confusing one at that. The layout doesn't do it any good service because 1/3 of the map is underground, the other 1/3 is indoors, and there are so many places to go you probably wouldn't know where you can get shot from, much less navigate properly. Anyway, this map was originally taking place during the night, which explains the weird color palette on the textures compared to the skybox. AS Forest. For an assassination map, the layout is quite unconventional. It's very blocky, perhaps the idea was a bit too ambitious for its time. Nonetheless, I feel like this one could have made it if it was polished a bit more. There are 2 turrets at the VIP exit, which work. But if that seems too deadly for you, well, there is a second exit on the other side of the map with a helicopter. Also this Easter egg. ES Frantic. This takes place in a subway, and my god, the layout is an absolute maze. By the way, ES means escape, a game mode that never made it out of the beta, but it still works in 1.6. It's basically like assassination, but terrorists are the ones that need to escape, who cannot buy and can only get weapons from stashes. This map isn't really it, though. Escaping is almost impossible. This game mode also featured exclusive voice clips. CS Hideout. This one is quite unremarkable. It's just a bunker, the layout is fine, maybe a bit too spacious for a hostage map, but speaking of hostages, CTs cannot win by saving them because, as we all know, hostages cannot use ladders, and 3 of them are in the underground that can only be accessed with ladders. Kind of broken, but this door requiring 2 players to activate is a cool idea. Also, in the beginning there is a turret, but this position isn't very useful. CS Iraq. So this map is quite large, surprisingly not as confusing as the layout might suggest, but it does look quite T-sided. Oh, hello Saddam. Right from the start, there are many angles, doors, and windows that give them quite the advantage over CTs, plus plenty of hiding spots, and even this tank with a turret on it. There's an underground and many ways to enter the indoor facility, but the balance is still pretty off. ES Jail, another escape map, and just like the previous one, it's a maze, although this at least looks better. Terrorists obviously start around the jail cells and would need to navigate the whole facility to get out, while CTs start around the exits, of which there are 2 and are easy to defend, so they can just chill and wait for the escapees, because why even bother going inside and looking for them? DE Jeepathon 2K. I've talked about this one before. Layout is, a layout, I guess. Anyway, that's not the point here. This map was just for testing vehicles, not sure why it was included in the map pool. It also isn't a diffused map. There are hostages, which can be a win condition for CTs, but again, this is a map just for driving vehicles and mowing down people. CS Mansion. Oh, here's the fabled mansion. Layout-wise, it's pretty simple to understand, probably because it's one of the first maps ever. Some people believe it is the first map ever, but it came out together with a few other ones in the first ever version of CS, so I don't know if it's true. Well, there's not much to discuss here. It's just a pretty simple boxy map, so moving on. CS Prison, also one of the first ever maps. The overview is almost useless because the inside isn't shown, but it's quite simple, containing only a few rooms and the jail cells with hostages. Not much else going on here. I think the only unique thing on this map is the mounted sniper rifle on one of the towers. DE Railroad, one of the most interesting concepts. It seems wacky at first, but that's because you can ride a train around the whole map. Taking the train is not mandatory because some situations might be better without boarding it. Well, while this gimmick seems awesome in theory, the practicality of it is questionable. Also in size, this is the biggest official map ever made. AS Riverside. This is the last assassination map on the list, and honestly, it isn't as confusing as the rest. It's actually a bit too simplistic. There are 2 extraction points, but they are so close to each other, there is basically only one route to them. Only other way is this small part right here. So basically, half of the map is useless because Ts can easily camp the exits, but hey, there's a working boat with a fairly short voyage. CS Ship, another one of these maps with a useless overview. I also don't know where all the water went, but most of this map takes place inside anyways. As a CT, all you have to do is go to the other side of the map, hello again Saddam, go down, and there are all the hostages, but good luck getting them out, despite how simple traversing this map may seem. CS Station. This looks really good, and navigating it is quite simple, despite how elaborate it all is. It may be the intuitive design, multi-layered but easy to understand with tons of ways to approach the hostages, either from the underground or the multitude of entrances. There's just a bit too many vents for my taste. Maybe this is all because of how complete the map is, but honestly, I wish it made it out of the beta. Also, this is supposed to be a train station, but I'm kinda conflicted on that one. CS Tire. This is a war-torn retirement home. Wait, excuse me? It looks like an insane asylum. Anyway, it's not the hardest to navigate, but some of the rooms can be a pain in the butt with a big courtyard in the middle, which courtyard also has the hostage rescue zone. Yeah, it's not around CT spawn like usual. Maybe because this map is very T-sided, but what do I know? ES Trinity. The last escape map on the list. Not too hard to find your way, it's pretty huge in both size and units. It takes a while for terrorists to find weapons, which are in very specific spots, and out of both escape zones, this one in a shed with a generator is a bit weird of a spot. Besides that, there is a pretty large sewer system to navigate through, but for the most part, due to the largeness of the map, escaping isn't an easy task. CS Weapon Depot. The sense of scale here is a bit out of touch, but the layout is reminiscent of Assault to me in a way. This map is one of the first ever, and the gameplay isn't that bad, but probably due to how simple the design is and how large, it's not very favorable. These monitors don't look like much, but they are actually cameras. And where's this poster of a woman from? It looks like it's from a movie. CS Option, or Zero Option. This honestly looks and sounds like a precursor to Foption, but smaller, yet still confusing to walk around in. Also kind of tight, which doesn't provide good gameplay. I also just think the hostages here are a bit too far from each other, which can make winning as counter-terrorists by saving hostages way harder than it should be. Finally, that was all the removed maps from CS, if we include the previous video. Quite the number of deleted maps, most being Hostage Rescue, but that was the first game mode and was considered the primary one. Too bad for Escape, which honestly kinda seems flawed by design. Now, I do understand why some of these maps were removed early, others I thought had potential if polished a bit more, but what can you do? You can't win them all. Yet, that doesn't mean some of the maps in the final map pool don't suck either. Oh well, I'm off to clean under my desk. All that dust that's been piling up really gets my allergies. Maybe I could find something lost. Ooh, sounds like an adventure.